We're talking about a common practice among pet owners today here on The Now. Spaying and neutering dogs can bring some unintended consequences, the risks certain dogs may face, and what vets have to say. And raising a family is expensive, and it's not just because of childcare. Many parents are trading their careers for family life. Coming up next, we're going to have some advice on how to manage both, and a man forever changed by a grizzly bear attack ahead. A look at the amazing things doctors did to help him recover.
Thank you, Chris. You're watching The Now Indy on RTV6. I'm Amanda Starantino. We are dealing with extreme heat across central Indiana. Temperatures are in the 90s, but it actually feels like it's in the 100s. Well, as you can see, a lot of people are spending time outside, but don't stay out too long. According to ready.gov, you need to find air conditioning often. Avoid strenuous activity, wear light clothing, drink plenty of water or Gatorade, and never leave people or pets in a closed car. If you are having trouble finding air conditioning, there are cooling centers open across central Indiana during this heat wave. Just go to the RTV6 app and on our website, theindychannel.com, for the complete list of cooling centers. And it is the Storm Team 6 Alert Day, so we're going to send it over to Chief Meteorologist Kevin Gregory to explain how long this will probably last.
An extended period, and that's really the key to this. It's not so much the individual high temperatures, it's the duration and the fact that we're not going to cool off much overnight. Let's go to door number 1 here, 92 in Indy and Greenwood. Everybody at 90 or above. That's the temperature. The heat index values have been closer to 100 to about 103 throughout the day. I show you the radar, not expecting any pop-up thunderstorms this evening. They're off to the east. All of these thunderstorms then moving south and east away from central Indiana. Temperatures from north to south, west to east, all above average for this time of year. Bedford and Lawrence County, the warm spot now. Otherwise, temperatures in the low 90s. What's ahead? Very warm conditions, nice little breeze. That helps a little bit, but even at 11 o'clock tonight, we are still above 80 degrees. Amanda?
Thank you, Kevin. We're all keeping an eye on that weather. And right now, police are looking for a person of interest in connection to multiple fires set in Indianapolis. And tonight, one of the victims whose house caught fire is on a mission to find out who was behind the blazes. IMPD detectives are looking for the person in these pictures after several fires on the north and northeast sides of the city. Metro Police believe one of the fires happened in the early morning hours of July 2nd on North Talbot Street. That's where Erin Grotman lives, and she wants the person caught before someone gets hurt or worse.
It's very concerning because, you know, I don't know what the motivation is from this individual, but obviously the concern is that, you know, if there is a next time, somebody's not going to be as lucky as we all have been.
Anyone with information is asked to call Crime Stoppers of Central Indiana at 317-262-TIPS.
This week, we're about to see record-breaking temperatures across the country. Now, with a lot of thermometers hovering above 90 degrees, Chris Welch is showing us how some people are making sure they keep cool during this heat wave.
It's gonna be hot today. Keep up on the water.
There's a good chance if you work outside, like these construction crews in Denver,
Drink lots of water today, bud.
you'll be seeing the effects of a heat wave that's taken hold of much of the nation, from the plains to the East Coast. More than 150 million people in nearly 30 states under a heat watch, warning, or advisory Thursday. And more than half the population of the U.S. will see temps above 95 degrees. Roads in Oklahoma already buckling, and with the hot weather expected to linger through the weekend, residents like this woman in Chicago planning for it as best they can.
He has his fan and lots of water and lots of sunscreen.
The number one thing to keep in mind on a day like today, hydrate. If you're not sure whether or not you're drinking enough water, better to drink too much rather than too little. And if you do have to be outside, find a place in the shade.
We talk about heat exhaustion.
Site Superintendent Cy Butte says they prep for days like this, teaching foremen how to watch out for signs that someone's body may be overheating.
Symptoms include weakness or feeling faint.
Other signs include dizziness, rapid pulse, nausea, and headache. If the symptoms are present,
make sure to call 911 right away and get them out of the sun into either the shade or ideally air conditioning.
I'm Chris Welch reporting.
All right, good tips, Chris. Thank you. Let's start the news feed. A judge has denied bail for billionaire Jeffrey Epstein. He's facing up to 45 years in prison. He is accused of molesting dozens of underage girls. Today, the U.S. House passed a bill raising the federal minimum wage to $15 an hour by 2025. Minimum wage is $7.25 an hour right now. Experts say, though, the chances that this bill passes the Republican-controlled Senate are slim. New safety measures in the Dominican Republic following the deaths of at least 10 Americans. Hotel rooms will now be inspected more. Each room will have emergency contact information, and an emergency tourist center will be opened. Well, back to our lineup here. Many communities put a big effort into spaying and neutering pets, but new research shows that it could have an adverse effect for certain dogs. Ahead, we're going to talk about the breeds that may be most at risk.
Ed Martin Toyota.
The only name you need to know.
Welcome back to the Now Indy on RTV6. The blood supply in Indiana is at critically low levels, and the American Red Cross is asking for your help. The Red Cross needs more blood donors like the ones you see here that stopped by Bankers Life Fieldhouse today. The Indiana Fever teamed up with the Red Cross to hold a blood drive in hopes to restock the supply shelves. Right now, they are down to only 3 days worth of blood supply. Officials say with people gone for vacation and the 4th of July, there has been a lack of donors, blood drives, and an increase in the need for blood. If you missed out today, you can still donate at other drives. We have that info on the RTV6 app and the IndyChannel.com.
Let's start the news feed. At least 33 people are dead after a fire at an anime studio in Japan. Authorities are calling the incident an arson attack. A 41-year-old suspect is in the hospital with serious burns. Lockheed Martin and the Navy are working to fix a problem with the president's new helicopters. Marine One left scorch marks on the White House lawn in a test. The president wasn't on board. The new fleet set to debut next year. The helicopters cost $5 billion. Walgreens is now carrying a new line of items that work like EpiPens. Now, if you have commercial insurance, Walgreens says it won't cost you anything. The manufacturer of AviQ said it would ship it to people at no cost if they don't live near a Walgreens. We've always heard encouragement for spaying and neutering your pet, but new research says that we need to have more conversations about the timing of these surgeries. The Morris Animal Foundation is studying thousands of golden retrievers. They found spaying or neutering these dogs can put them at a higher risk for obesity no matter when they had the procedure. Now, if the surgeries are performed while the dog is younger than 6 months, they also had a much higher risk for orthopedic injuries, things like stress ligaments. The doctors involved in the research say it is likely that it has to do with just how important reproductive hormones are to growth. And they're not saying don't spay or neuter. Instead, have a bigger discussion about timing with your vet.
And we need to individualize or personalize our recommendations for a dog in the same way that we hope our physician will personalize a recommendation for us.
They found the results could also be applied to other large breed dogs because bigger dogs mature later than smaller dogs. Other research cited by the American Kennel Club found long-term health benefits to waiting until after puberty to spay or neuter. All right, let's get back to our lineup and an amazing story here. A man that survived a grizzly bear attack. His amazing recovery, which included keeping his nose alive by sewing it on his forearm. We're going to show you the other medical marvels helping him recover.
Martin Acura.
The only name you need to know.
We want to let you know that some of the images in this next story may be difficult to look at. And being attacked by a bear, let's face it, that is pretty scary. And surviving that attack is pretty amazing. One man went through some intense surgeries to restore his nose and other body parts. Annie Taylor with his story.
We got up in the dark and we went on the mountain. I'm very familiar with the mountain, and I knew where I was going.
3 years ago, Lee Brook and a few buddies were hunting for elk in the mountains of Wyoming.
And as it was, 2 of us shot an elk.
The next morning, Lee went back up to the mountain to claim his elk.
As I see it and recognize that it's covered up with brush, I spin around to leave. It's covered up, that means a bear has claimed it.
From that moment on, Lee's life was about to change forever. He was attacked by that grizzly bear.
I don't know how long, but I don't have time to think about that.
As he struggled for his life, Lee's face was severely damaged by the claws of the grizzly.
I said, Lord, I could use a little help about now. Not really understanding he'd already been at work because I'm alive.
Lee was flown to Denver's Swedish Medical Center where he was put into a coma for 30 days. This was just the beginning of his facial reconstruction process.
One of the major injuries that he had was an amputation of the mid portion of his face.
The husband and wife team of plastic surgeons, Dr. Lily Danieli and Dr. Benson Pellicoltol, became Lee's reconstructive team from the Burn and Reconstruction Center. One of the areas Lee lost was his nose and upper lip. Now, as crazy as it sounds, he put that in his pocket after the attack.
Ultimately, we took a chance to see if it would take, and if it took, which it did, you know, it allows us to move forward. We try to put things back on if it'll provide function.
What they did was kept his nose alive by sewing it on his forearm.
From his initial injury, you know, we took him to the operating room many times to clean his face, you know, get all the dirt and grass and, you know, bare stuff out of it.
While waiting for his nose to heal, Lee has had dozens of other surgeries. Doctors use cartilage and tissue from all over his body to put his face back together, using the hair on his head to make a mustache, creating an upper lip from skin from his leg.
And so you have to always be confident in your skills, but expect the worst outcome and plan for the worst outcome. And so we often have a plan A, B, C, D, E, F.
I'm quite pleased with the result.
Looks so good.
Yeah.
Someone who has stood by Lee through it all is his wife, Martha.
I'm super proud of him. Super proud.
Martha and Lee have kept their spirits bright, but there's one thing Lee says he'll forever miss about his old life. Following the surgery, there are some places where Lee has lost feeling.
I'll never feel my wife's kiss. I'll never... That's probably the biggest one for me.
The whole fact that the way he looks is not his focus. And he's still the Lee I know and love.
I'm Annie Taylor reporting.
Well, talk about a perfect event for such a hot day outside. Fanfare 2019 blew into the Delta Indianapolis East Hotel today. So what's Fanfare? It's a convention showing off some of the most interesting antique fans in the world. Members of the Antique Fan Collectors Association get together and learn about the history of fans and restoration techniques, and even buy some of the weirdest and most fun-looking fans you've ever seen.
We have over 700 plus members to our club, and we grow every single week. That's how crazy we are about fans. What ends up happening a lot of times is we have someone in the hotel will walk in and think, oh my God, you were kidding me. I didn't realize. And then all of a sudden they go into grandma's place, barn or whatnot, and they find an old fan, and then they go out to an antique store and they find another one, and then another one, and then another one, and now they're collectors or hoarders. Yeah. That's how it is.
Well, president of the Antique Fan Collectors Association, Annie Hill, says these fans can sell for $1 on the low end or hundreds of thousands of dollars on the high end. Of course, this convention was planned long before our current heat wave, but you really couldn't pick a better day to be inside with a bunch of fans. I feel like my mother would have just loved this event, Kevin.
I noticed they weren't all on, though. That would have been quite the mood if every fan was on at the same time.
It would probably feel good right now.
Count me in. I'm a big fan of that, and it just shows you the need to stay cool through the generations. The heat today, temperature 93 in Indianapolis. Rory Gregory walked outside, laid down, looked around, and then walked right back in the house. Don't forget to keep the dogs cool, provide plenty of water. Perhaps an isolated thunderstorm may provide some relief as we go into the weekend. Joel Laswell sent me this picture from just north of Lafayette today. Had a downpour around Battleground, even some small hail. Heat warning in effect, not just for Indiana, it's the entire state, but you go out to the Central Plains all the way to the East Coast, the heat warning in effect. Isolated weekend thunderstorms, they're more likely on Sunday to provide some temperature relief. Then the big change arrives on Monday, lower temperatures and much lower humidity. Notice the yellow cooler colors are over in Ohio because of thunderstorms there. 96 in Bedford, 89 in Peru, Lafayette in the low 90s, still in the low 90s as you go toward Columbus and Greensburg. Slow process to cool off tonight. Triple-digit heat index values along the Wabash River. If you go into eastern Indiana, still above 100 degrees. For tomorrow, already we're bouncing up to 80 degrees shortly after 8 o'clock. 95 will be the afternoon high with a heat index of about 106. We stay dry through the day tomorrow. Temperatures in the evening will be just as warm, if not a little warmer than this evening. These are the high temperatures around all of central Indiana. Pretty uniform, won't be much of a change from north to south. Temperatures Saturday, 82 at 9 a.m., 91 at noon, 96 the afternoon high. This may well be the warmest day in this stretch, which gets us through Sunday. As you look at the next 4 days, you can see what will happen. Temperatures staying in the 90s. We'll begin to see a change early next week. We'll be back with more in just a second. Chris?
Let's start the news feed. Instagram realizing that likes can lead to added pressure. It's expanding a test in countries overseas that hides your picture's likes from others. You would still be able to privately see the amount of likes that you get on a picture. Fancy part of New York is getting some unwanted neighbors. Manhattan's Upper West Side is seeing a big rat problem. The New York Times says that rats have migrated there in recent years. Now, the mayor's office says that rat complaints did go down last year, the most they have in 12 years. But the New York Times is saying that the city's rat complaints are up 38% since 2014. There are questions of whether an Iowa state official was fired because of his love of the rapper Tupac. Jerry Foxhoven was forced to resign as Iowa's director of human services. He regularly held Tupac Fridays. He would play the rapper's music in his office. The governor, though, asked for his resignation shortly after he sent a staff email recognizing Tupac's birthday. Foxhoven says that he thinks the timing of his resignation is more of a coincidence and not related to the rapper. Maybe you caved to Amazon Prime Day or Walmart or Target, some of the deals that they had going on this week. Soon those packages will be showing up, but you should be paying special attention for extras. Jace Larson here to explain.
Any big online shopping spree event is really game for more third parties to try and get your information. And what we're seeing now is something called brushing scams. People from all over the world are reporting getting free boxes of stuff. Might seem harmless at first because you're not being charged for the items. But the goal here is to try and get people to post reviews about that free stuff online. And that's a deceptive sales tactic. And what you also should be concerned about is who has your name, address, and likely other personal information. According to the ID Theft Resource Center, if you get these surprise deliveries, try and contact the retailer immediately. If it came from Amazon, you can let Amazon know, and the company will try to track down the other company and perhaps prevent them from selling on their site. Also, try and send the package back by writing "Return to Sender" on it. And you need to change your passwords on your online shopping accounts and watch your credit card for any suspicious charges.
All right, Jace, thank you. More than 250,000 people get bariatric surgery in the United States every year. And all of them have one thing in common. Their body mass index, or BMI, is 35 or greater. Now, if that BMI is just a point less, they're not eligible for the surgery. Researchers at Ohio State say that doctors shouldn't focus on that number as much anymore. They want to change the criteria. Now, researchers say that patients shouldn't have to wait for obesity to become a problem before they do something about it.
There are many patients who have lower BMIs and mild obesity who have, severe metabolic diseases like diabetes, hypertension, hyperlipidemia, and all those things that would put them at risk for, strokes, heart attacks, early death.
Now, bariatric surgery isn't just meant to help patients who are considered obese. It's also used to manage or reverse type 2 diabetes. Doctors say there are patients who don't meet the BMI requirement.
But, it's another pitch for early intervention and not waiting until those other diseases get severe, but providing this treatment early can really prevent or change the trajectory of a lot of those other diseases.
Changing the criteria would help patients who don't have coverage from their health insurer. The odds for deadly complications from this surgery are just 0.1%. The American Society for Metabolic and Bariatric Surgery has recently updated the guidelines for surgery based on a patient's whole health rather than just BMI. Next to our lineup, we are going beyond the cost of raising a child, talking about family decisions that impact a career and getting suggestions about how to manage both.